Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing some standard best of one. There have been some ban specifically in standard, and it's not good enough, but I don't know what we really expected, to be honest. That's kind of the wizarding way. We're going to be playing around with a list that's been kind of sat in my collection for a little while now, but up until like a day ago, I didn't really have the wild cards to actually craft it because it's pretty damn mythic and rare, dense. Mostly kind of in the mana base a lot of the ways. I didn't open many pathways during my pack openings at the start of release, and then also you've got these flip spell lands as well, which is the reason why I want to play this deck, because I think you can do some serious work when half of your lands are also useful spells. So today we're going to be playing around with Jeskai Control, which the reason I'm playing this specifically is mostly because the mana base seems to line up, and you know, it's a spells deck and the lands are spells, so things like Whirlwind of Thought can actually do a thing. This is going to be our meme of the day, because no deck that I build is complete without at least a meme card. I don't think you want to run more than one of these. I contemplated it, but it's too much of a do-nothing on its own. So we're running one Whirlwind of Thought just to see what happens with it. But yeah, this is a Jeskai Control deck. It's not going to be too janky on this one, I don't imagine anyway. But we're going to be playing around with one of my favourite Planeswalkers in recent memory, one that is only just starting to get good, I would say. Narset of the Ancient Way, a 4 loyalty, 4 mana Planeswalker. There is a tick up to gain 2 life and then add 1 of Jeskai colors, and you can use it only to cast spells of a non-creature style, so our entire deck except for like Bone Crusher Giants, opposite end, and same thing for Brazen Borrower. You can also -2 to draw a card, and then you may discard a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, Narset of the Ancient Ways deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost to a creature or planeswalker. And this is where Narset starts looking really good, because now that we have lands and spells kind of joining themselves together, that means the -2 is less likely to actually hit a land and have a deal 0 attached to it, which is what you'd do with the, you know, if you found your Roger Triumph, and instead we can get lands that are things like Seagate Restoration, which suddenly means if we want to discard this land, we actually get to deal 7 damage to any creature or planeswalker we want, which is basically just destroy target creature. So that -2 is now actually a kill spell, because we've managed to enable it in the deck. There's also a -6 there, which gives you an emblem that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this emblem deals 2 damage to any target. As soon as you've got that card, that emblem, sorry, it's going to really make it difficult for your opponent to win the game, and it doesn't take too much for you to get there. It does mean that you're not going to be using Narset as card advantage, but you can gain life with it, and you can add mana with it, so it still has a little bit of usage to make sure you can play your spells and maintain control of the board, you know, with things like Shatter the Sky. But it combos quite nicely as well with Elspeth Conquers Death, who'd have known. 5 mana, exile a permanent with converted mana cost 3 or greater. Should hit a fair bit of cards in this format. And then you can also stop non-creature spells to a certain extent with a 2 mana tax. Finally, and this is the bit that really combos nicely with Narset of the Ancient Way, you can return a Planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and you can put a loyalty counter on it, which means Narset of the Ancient Way off of Elspeth Conquers Death will come actually with 5 loyalty, tick up straight to 6, and then the next turn you can go straight for that emblem. And if you can get that emblem, 2 damage to wherever you want to point it whenever you just cast anything. So you counter your opponent's spell, you shock something, it's either your face or it's an X2 or something like that. So it has lots and lots of uses there. But yeah, we do have lots of early game interaction, even though we are very heavy on the mana costs. That's all thanks to our spell land basis. We've got 19 normal lands, and then I don't even know. You can count them all you want. These ones come into play untapped if you pay 3 life. So you can kind of count those as 1 land each, and then these are a tap land, so they're kind of like half a land as well. So, you know, I think it's about 27, 28-ish lands. It might even be 29 virtual lands, I guess. I don't know how you want to justify them, but that's pretty much how I look at them. It's about a 29 land deck, even though it's actually got 19 in it, but that just means we've got all the more interaction with this one. So yeah, counter magic with Essence Scatter and Neutralize, board wipes in case we don't want to counter things, or we could bounce to tempo as well. Whirlwind of Thought is just going to draw a card off of everything we play, which is kind of fun. I'm hoping to get this one down today. And then Alternative Win Con, Shark Typhoon, 6 mana enchantment. You almost never use it on the enchantment side, but I'm sure we'll try to give it a shot because I actually find it more hilarious on the enchantment side because I like Metallurgic Summonings and I miss that card very dearly. It says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you make an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So if we had it in play and we went for a Seagate Restoration, we'd be drawing like 3 or 4 cards for 7 mana and making a 7/7, which is absolutely filthy value. But most of the time, you're going to end up actually cycling this one, X and 2, to cycle it and make an XX blue shark creature token, where X is the amount you spent cycling it. So it's an uncounterable flash creature, essentially, so we can really get our opponent if they're not paying attention. And hopefully we can do some good stuff with that. But yeah, that is essentially the list. If you do enjoy this kind of content, let me know down in the comments section below. Let me know if you would change anything about this list. It's still, I would say, a work in progress. I'm still not really where I want to be on, I think, the spell land split. This is something the past few days I've been kind of moving around. But I decided to just bite the bullet on this one and send it off for a couple of test games, which you'll be seeing today, and just seeing how it does as it is. But I kind of feel like 1 mountain for a Shatter Skull Smashing and 1 island for a Seagate Restoration in some combination might actually be pretty decent. I'm not entirely sure, but as I said, it's very rare and mythic heavy, so it's going to be hard to craft this one if you don't already have the cards available, which I didn't for the longest time. But yeah, like, subscribe, and let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Okay then, we're in, and we've got a 2-lander with a turn 1 Spikefield Hazard. I think if our pathway was blue, I might take this so that we could get the neutralize on time, but because it's not, I think I've just got to take the mull on this one. And, well, we'll give this one a shot, I think. It's got lots of removal, a little bit of bouncing, everything we should hopefully need to stay in this game. So let's lead off with our Triumph to start and see what we are up against. Hopefully it's not Omnath. Hopefully it's not Mono Red. Mono Red seems like a pretty rough matchup, to be honest, but here we are. Alright, we do need the double white, so we'll go with that. I think we're just going to Spikefield Hazard the Fervent Champion, but we'll wait until our opponent goes to combat, just in case they play something a little bit more worthy of a 1 damage burn spell, like Kargan Intimidator, for example. Take 1 just to get that off the board. And now we're hoping for more lands, just so we can progress this game, and we did get that. We got our double white, let's get some more red. And may end up going for the Brazen Borrower to just bounce an Anax here, maybe. Another Fervent Champion. Ugh, okay. I think this is fine. If we get a land, we take 4 here, and then we just shatter the sky. Surviving this game is gonna be quite tough. The Kargan Intimidator. Okay, then, so it's basically land drop or bust at this stage, I would say. Bust it's gonna be, then. Land was just underneath. How typical. Alright, well, play the plains. We can bounce the Intimidator just to slow our opponent down a little bit, I suppose. They do have Embercleave mana even through the attack here as well, though, so it's a little bit of a sketchy situation. Take the bluff. I'll bounce whatever gets Embercleaved. I think they've got it. And they also have Embereth activations and Intimidators as well. Yeah, they're just going to pass priority back to me. So I'm just going to have to bounce the Intimidator here. I don't think I can really afford to take all this damage. Mono Red just seems like a really miserable matchup in all honesty. Are you kidding me? Why? Why did you have board wipe protection? I hate it. Oh my god. This just keeps on getting worse and worse. Yeah, I mean, that's just the stone cold nuts for them against our deck for sure. So let's just go to the next game. Alrighty then, we've got double Narset. We do have Essence Scatter on 2, but we are on the draw, so it's going to be a little bit slow. We can Brazen Borrower though, as a little bit of a tempo swing perhaps. I'm going to keep this hand, see how we get on. Going to be iffy, but I think we take this hand. I think our draws can be pretty decent. And the hand otherwise can stabilize quite nicely if it goes on long enough. Can use one Narset, for example, as a removal spell rather than a tick up to get that shock emblem. Okay, we're in. And it looks like it's rogues. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, this is going to be sketchy to say the least. Play the land and pass. We can afford to take a Wind Robber hit. We can just then hold up an Essence Scatter and then do an end step bounce or something like that. Three mana and the Nighthawk's Scavenger. Yeah, so nice on curve counter spell there. And then we just take another hit from the Wind Robber, which is fine. Shout the Sky into the trash. And we do need to pretend we've got double blue, so let's do that. We got our double white as later down the line if we do draw a board wipe as well, so no big deal there. I actually don't know our opponent's list as much as I probably should, but it is kind of like the new hotness at the moment. If it's not Omnath, then it's going to be this rogues list, essentially. Another Nighthawk Scavenger, which will allow that. And I think we're just gonna bounce the Wind Robber. Bounce the Wind Robber. Play the Narset. Let's get Red Source, I suppose. And then kill the Scavenger with it. Sharky T. I think you get rid of the spare Narset, to be honest. I don't think they can flicker in for one black mana there, and we should be able to defend Narset just fine with the Shark Typhoon and Brazen Borrower. So, full reign to do whatever they want while we're tapped out here. What do you choose to do? Replays the Wind Robber and passes. Does this have to do it to players to do the milling? Okay. Well, I am just gonna tick up with Narset. I don't imagine I'm really gonna do much with this. I don't necessarily think just a bounce with Brazen Borrower here as a cost reduction is worthwhile when I can cycle Shark Typhoon. Gotta be careful about the big boy rogue that reanimates. Can take my Narset if I'm not very careful with unblocked Wind Robbers. That's kind of why I want to keep this Brazen Borrower open. If they go for a straight removal spell on Narset, do I actually counter it? Or do I just attack their hand with my counter magic instead? Tis a tough call, to be honest. Because I can also just get down a 3/3 shark. It's going to send it at Narset. Okay, fine with that. Narset's just going to keep ticking up and gaining me life as it goes, so... I'm not going to drop my double blue guard here. Which I actually wonder if I could have... Nah, I couldn't really hold it open with my pathway decisions. Soaring Thought Thief. Opponent has 8 or more cards. Sure. And there's Zareth. Okay. So, Zareth is the one that we Brazen Borrower now. So you put it from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. And then I bounce it. The sadness might resolve. Okay, I am going to... I'm going to pass here, actually. I think what I need to do is... minus Narset and kill the Thought Thief. So that they don't have a Zareth San flicker, and I think it means that I've got to go with the Neutralize to kill this. Play the Mountain. Could actually drop down a Shark Typhoon here. Is Hardcast Shark Typhoon actually the correct play? I almost think that it is, since they're tapped down and they need to push through. I don't think they've necessarily got an answer to this Typhoon. I guess Brazen Borrower is a rogue, so they could just straight up bounce it. I guess I don't mind necessarily if they do that, but... Shark Typhoon in play should hopefully leave me with plenty of blockers for the Zareth San. From now until the end of time. Counter spells make 3/3s, for example. Ooh, that's a rough one, unfortunately. Gotta imagine that's a top deck for them. Hasty 3/3 coming down. Oh my god, and they got the Bronx. Oh my god, they got it all. Well, we know their hand now, and we know that it can't answer a Shark Typhoon cycle. So, let's just deal with that. Top deck has to deal with the Shark Typhoon cycle here, so they need the Brazen Borrower. Can make that 4/4. Which can profit block the Prankle. Shark Typhoon and a land. And then it can also block the Thieves Guild Enforcer to keep Zareth San from just coming in as a 4-drop, I suppose. I think I am going to make the 4/4 with the Shark Typhoon regardless of whether they attack or not here. There's really no reason not to. It's a decent blocker for Prankle. Can just put it into play. And then I can Bone Crusher the Thieves Guild Enforcer, and that's a decent block as well. Taken off the table. Okay. Weird, but okay. So make the 4/4. Kind Can't say I particularly understand what they're doing here. Spike Field Hazard's good for Brazen Borrower. I've got perfect information on them, so they basically need to... You know, they can't even Castle Lockthwain to find an answer. You can just flash in Zarathan and... I can block it next turn. Fair enough. Yeah, just pass. Got counter magic to stop removal, which they don't have. And I've got all the pieces in the world here to stop them from getting any kind of damage in. I guess I should have killed the Thieves Guild Enforcer in response to the mill. It's just another Wind Robber. Well, now's my chance to fix that. Let's get you out of here, and if they flash in the Brazen Borrower, I think I just let it go, and then I Spike Field Hazard it. This will leave them pretty much without anything to do. I think putting them on top decks is just fine. So now they might think, well, best chance to get that Brazen Borrower in, and that's kind of what we want. I want to leave them without anything to do. They're actually just going to draw a card here and go to 16, which is totally fair. I would have probably cracked the Fable Passage pre-draw, just to not draw a land as often. But mistakes happen in all forms. Don't think you swing in with the Zarathan here. That would be very strange. And yeah, we just pass it up. Now, I can play a Bone Crusher Giant. That leaves me with Neutralize or Spike Field plus Shock or Stomp. I think that's okay. And I believe we've got to get in damage here. I'm just got to be very careful with Zarathan getting combat in potentially. Really don't want to see that happen, so they could actually resolve a fair few things through my Neutralize here. On the off chance they have just hard removal, I need to neutralize it. So there's a big risk involved with playing the Bone Crusher down there and not holding back my 4/4 with plenty more answers. But I think you got to push. I think you got to put that pressure on. Now, one of them's a land and a Thieves Guild Enforcer, which is fine. Mills Shark Typhoons off. You do hate to see that. And again, I don't think it's worth Zarathan trading a Bone Crusher Giant. But they were thinking about it. Okay, I can go with a Stomp here, I think. They can do a Castle Lockthwain, and Brazen Borrower can come in and get Spike Field Hazarded. Get rid. Down to 11 for our opponent. Love to just see more interaction with their hands. Teferi's fine? Teferi could be fine. I don't think it's worth doing, though. I think you just keep the Shark Typhoon open and neutralize. And we just get in for another 4. If we're just keeping in neutralize, then I guess we should go for another Bone Crusher Giant. That way we've got the counter open and we got the pressure as well. Potential for a 3-card play from our opponent here, so we've got to be really picky with our neutralize. We do have removal protection to stop Zareth as well, since we have the double Bone Crusher Giant. So if our opponent does have like a Heartless Act or something like that for Bone Crusher, we're going to let it go. It's the second Bone Crusher we can't really allow to die here. So they can get all sorts of goodies from my graveyard with just one connection of Zareth's Sand. They can get Elspeth Conquers Death, a Shark Typhoon, a Narset. This might even be... Was there a Bone Crusher Giant in here as well? Yeah. We really stand to lose a hell of a lot by Zareth just getting in 1 point of combat damage. So that's kind of our number one priority here, is to not allow that to be the case. And they just pass. Yeah, I think we just pass ourselves. We could have flickered in a Brazen Borrower there, but I'm not sure it's necessarily worth it. Need more blue. 2, 3, 4. Can't play Teferi at the same time. So I think we just get in with our Shark again. This thing has Flash. Can't really do too much to us, though. Yeah. I'll allow it. And another one. Another one. Can block them with Brazen Borrowers. Can block them with a Shark. Yeah, so they got the double block here. Which is fine. I don't think you use a Neutralize there, since we got the backup Shark Typhoon. And we do have the Brazen Borrower in case they've got nothing, just to block the Soaring Thought Thief. Who could be a Zareth San as well. Most likely outcome here is that I just cycle Shark Typhoon, I think. Opponent mills 2 cards. I think Zareth is only like a 2 or a 3 in their deck, so the odds of them having it are not that high. I can make a 5/5 here with Shark Typhoon to block. I don't think there's too much of a worst case scenario from doing that. It gets removed. They have no cards in hand. We still have 2 4/3s. So I think we take our chances here at getting to block this. I think the worst thing they could do is swap it in for a Zareth San after removing it, and that's kind of a lot to go right for them. Nighthawk Scavenger, and that should do it. We go Teferi, Master of Time. Phase out the Nighthawk Scavenger. And then all attack our opponent. And that should do it. Can't activate Castle Lochthwain. Can only block with Zareth San here. So they're taking lethal, and there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah, Teferi, he was a little bit of an awkward cast for the longest time there, but lucky that we managed to find some use for him, even if it was just taking one for the team. That was a really, really interesting matchup for sure. Sweet. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Twitter posts about our opponent's deck taking like the standard metagame challenge to a full like 7-0 or whatever it is in that metagame challenge. I don't know. I find it a trap for the average player to engage in that particular event, but yeah, it seems to be doing well, our opponent's deck, and we managed to take it down there. Sweet. Alrighty then, we got a 4-lander, we're on the play with a Jwari Disruption. We absolutely keep this hand. And we see how we do. So we got the turn 1 Rogger in Triome. We kind of just hope that our opponent doesn't have a turn 1 play. And if they don't, we can pretty much upset our opponent's plans here. So I think we actually go River Glide Pathway. We do the blue side of it, since we have the double blue requirement here. Yeah, because that just means that Seagate Restoration's probably going to be forced to make us pay 3 on the life total, and we don't really need to do that. Maya Triton? What standard deck is using Maya Triton? Well, time to never find out, I think. Some sort of creature-based deck, I guess, so Essence Scatter should be pretty useful. We do have the Needle Verge Pathway. Technically, you need double white over double red in this deck, so we're going to go Pillar Verge Pathway and pass the turn. We already have the double blue because of our Triome Pathway. So we can kind of just upset our opponent's day, left, right, and center here. That's absolutely what we're going to do. Get rid of that Essence Scatter now. It might have been more correct, actually, to... hang on a second. I think you're just playing this tapped. To actually go with the Neutralize over the Essence Scatter there, just because it might be more mana efficient down the line to pay for your 3 here, and then have something like a Shark Typhoon plus Essence Scatter open. But who knows? Looks like a weird homebrew from our opponent, though. I'm tempted to just let this one live. Doesn't look like it particularly does anything. Let's just let that one go. Yeah, I don't think you fire off a Shark Typhoon X1, although drawing another Shark Typhoon makes me somewhat regret that decision. It is a win con after all, so... Demonic Embrace. Sure. We're playing the long game here. We can't just counter a thing that can go into the graveyard later. And it does have Menace, so there's no blocking with the Shark Typhoon, so let's just continue to hold open our counter magic for now. And I think you just go with the next 2 Shark here. It can't block the Null Priest, and I don't necessarily believe... Ooh, that's a really good draw. Sweet. I don't necessarily believe that you double block with the second Shark Typhoon, again, because it is one of our win cons. We're not going to need to now, because we've got the Bone Crusher Giant, though. But our opponent can basically resolve anything. So I might have to take this hit. On the off chance we get better value down the line with a Shatter the Sky, for example. Okay, well. Let's take it out. Opponent's on their end step, so we don't really need to hold up and neutralize necessarily. And so we're just kind of hoping for land drops now. That'd be lovely. I think you actually cycle 1 neutralize to guarantee you make it. Spikefield Hazard actually seems like it's had some targets here. We have the Emiria's Call, but no card that really requires it to be untapped. So let's just play that tapped to make our land drops. Swing for 2. Start getting that life total we've allowed our opponent to gain just that little bit lower. And Hazard seems relatively useful with the Maya Tritons and the Null Priests hanging around. Opponent could even discard to try and get the Demonic Embrace attached to one of their creatures. Hateful Eidolon. That I'm going to have to say no to, because we can't really Spikefield Hazard it. And once it's got the Embrace on, it's a little bit more difficult to deal with. And there's Drana. Okay, so we got ourselves an ECD. Let's take the ECD while we've still got it. Hold open the Spikefield Hazard with our pathway. for any X ones and pass the turn. Don't currently have anything in the yard for Elspeth's Chapter 3. Hunted Nightmare is an oof kind of thing. We do have Death Touching Sharks now, and we're going to allow that. Absolutely. See what they get. And the dead weights. Okay, well, we're actually going to Shatter the Sky here, I think. It allows our opponent to draw a card, but it's better than not doing it. Hello. Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, I think you've got to go with Narset here. You don't really mind Maya Triton coming in to kill it if that does end up happening, because Elspeth's Chapter 3 is going to make that not so bad. And yeah, you just got to go with the Shark Typhoon, unfortunately, to get rid of it. Play the Vantress, pass the turn with Spikefield Hazard so that they can't Demonic Embrace the Maya Triton. Got to discard and pay 3 to do this as well, so it's really great value for us. Yeah. Punish it hardcore. And gets exiled as well. Opponent passes the turn. We do fizzle on our ECD, but honestly, it's not a big deal. Let's go for blue, I guess. And play our Bone Crusher Giant down. This is only for non-creature spells, so we can't use it on the Vantress here. But we will end step Vantress since we can't really do anything. Try and find the answer to whatever they place down here. Which is currently probably little creature with really annoying enchantment attached to it. That's probably realistically what's happening here. Another Hunted Nightmare. Okay, well. Let's scry. I don't really want either of these, I don't think. So we get the Death Touch counter. We're gonna Shatter the Sky here, I think. So we get 4 points of free damage in. Unless they want to trade, and then we don't have to Shatter, which is fantastic. Okay. So we get our damage in, and now I kind of wish that I had that neutralize, if I'm being honest, because it would be nice to draw into it here instead of drawing a mountain. I think we've got to go for the -2 here. Ugh. Okay. Chance for our opponent to get something decent here. Yeah, that neutralized bottom was a little bit of an oversight, I think. Could get pretty severely punished, and it looks like we are going to be. ECD for Prankle. Seems good. Shatter the Sky for everything else. I mean, it's a creature-based deck, so board wipes are got to be amazing here. And I do kind of want them to just put the Narset into the trash so that the ECD has a Chapter 3 ready to go. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's just play a mountain, I guess. Yep. ECD your Prankle. Shatter set up for whatever opponent plays here, which is hopefully not a 4-powered creature. It's a Maya Triton. I guess with Demonic Embrace, if they dare to go for it again, it will be 4 power. Yep, pay, get the dead weight. And they got themselves a 5/2, which will draw them a card when it dies. Unless we find something underneath the Shatter the Sky here. Essence Scatter. I actually don't hate it, because by the time Essence Scatter is relevant, we should have our Narset down ready to take care of the next thing. So you know what? Fine. Just going to keep the land in hand. So Narset's coming down. She's going to minus kill whatever our opponent plays here. Hopefully they don't have a 2-creature play. That would be kind of annoying. They pass. Fantastic. So I kind of hope for a neutralize there, because they might have, like, Murderous Rider held up. Spikefield Hazard is okay, but this is also just fine. So we are going to get that the Narset. Loyalty counter. I think it's going to die. And if it's going to die, we shouldn't go for the emblem. We should actually go for the draw here. And it did die.
Even masters make mistakes.
So they're at 7. We get to draw a card here. And it's not the one we hoped for, but it could be a decent blowout. Again, if our opponent has an X1. And I suppose we can now play this down. Pass the turn. Opponent's going to lose 3 here. Down to 4. So all that life they gained earlier on in the game ended up not mattering as we start to stabilize here. Opponent's going to go for a Murderous Rider. I think we find out what we're going to draw, because if we don't need to kill the Murderous Rider, then I shouldn't be going for the Essence Scatter. Yeah, those are just fantastic cards, right? I'll just take both of those. Yeah, and I'll just let the Murderous Rider resolve here and let them go for the Demonic Embrace, which they won't be able to pay for soon enough. They'll go to 1 in order to play that down. Actually just passing. Fair. In fact, they would have just died if they'd have gone for it as well, which is kind of funny. So, ECD on Murderous Rider. Means we've got multiple Narsets on the horizon here. Opponent's got no threats to stop me. If they draw off Lochthwain right now, they just die. So let's see what they do. We're incentivized with our Narset to minus, because we have that reanimation just hanging out at any time. And again, with the Narset, we're going to assume that it's going to die. So we're going to go for the minus. And just maintain that card advantage that is keeping us well in this game. Because even if it dies, we got the Essence Scatter. Not the Essence Scatter, the Elspeth Conquers Death. Brazen Borrower, amazing. Yeah, opponent has no chance of winning this game. Serrated Scorpion. I think you'd just say no to that because it's got life gain attached to it, and we don't like that. It's going to cost them 5 on that Demonic Embrace, which will take most of their turn. Let's get our Scry going. A Tef. We don't need the other Narset because we've already got one in our yard anyway. And we will take new Narset here and we'll tick her up. Keep the new one. Tick this one up on blue. We're just going to go for that emblem because it really doesn't matter when we've got Teferi Master of Time available as well. Okay, they had it. Fair enough. Go to 2. Let's pay blue and go for Teferi. That pathway we played earlier would have been kind of nice to discard at this point, but we don't know what we're about to draw anyway, so just take the best of the best, and what we have is good enough. Alright guys, well that is going to actually do it for today's video. Might be a little bit short, I don't know. These games have been relatively long from my books, except for the Mono Red one, which just kind of ended extremely abruptly. But yeah, this deck seems pretty sweet. It's very hard for it to miss its land drops now that we've got all of these spell flip lands as well. which is really nice. It just seems like it's in a really solid position to do something interesting anyway. Although I can't say that we really came up against the cream of the crop with our opponent's deck. It looks like more of a homebrew, but they are a higher rank than us, so I don't know. Maybe they got to that higher rank with this deck? It's a mystery. Either way, hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well for more content like this in the future. And without further ado, I'm going to end it off here. Take care, guys. Have a good night.